Hey everybody, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a desk review here, or not a desk review, but more of a discussion. This is kind of uncommon for me, but I wanted to go ahead and cover the whole situation of striker drag. I recently did a little range review of the SIG P365. One of the common issues that people have come up with, and I think it's just they're trying to come up with more crap on the pistol about, is striker drag. Now, they have had some issues with firing pin breakages, but this is the first time that I've actually heard of striker drag, honestly. When the P365 started having these issues, I was like, okay, maybe that's just such a rare thing. Well, here's some 10 millimeter, Starline brass. So some pretty hot loads from Herders and some others. Uh, you know, I'm seeing here that the Starline brass is some pretty hot rounds, and if you can see that there, you do have a little bit of striker drag going on here. And I apologize for my camera not wanting to be fully in sync with what's going on here, but you can see that there's striker drag on the top. It's nice and rounded on the bottom, and then it starts dragging upwards. Now the Glock, this is from a Glock 20, so you can see on the Herders here, it's a little lower powered, but comparison with the Starline brass, that was pretty hot ammo. Sorry about the shaking here, I'm doing this all by hand. You can see it's not as deep, not as aggressive, doesn't go up as high. It actually, it's like the primer blows out. I am sorry about that, but it's like the primer blows out around the hole in the breech face when it gets fired, and then it's a triangular firing pin, or at least a striker, and so I don't think it really incurs as much damage, but you do see some pretty aggressive drag here on the 10 millimeter. Now, the theory is that striker drag is basically, on subcompacts because of all the force going back, and that's how it's basically damaging itself, and why it wears so much. The same principle goes for the 1911 as far as like durability issues and stuff like that. So here's some from the 365. So we have some Winchester here in the middle of these right three, and then you have one that went all the way over. So that was one of my reloads here. And then at the side here you can see another one of my reloads, and then this one right here is from the 320. Now, if I go ahead and move this just a tad, kind of move this around a little bit. This is from the full-size 320, and again, I'm really sorry for the shaking, but if we zoom in here, you can see that there is just a tad of striker drag up there at the top. Now, I think this really also depends on how the striker behaves. I wasn't able to get the same results with really hot ammo out of my TP9 DA, but I think the reason in theory is that it strikes and then it goes back because it has a spring that pushes the striker back once it's done its strike. So on pistols like that, you probably won't see as many issues. However, the M&P and the M&P Shield, it seems like those have the same issues as far as striker drag. I've seen it, or at least I've seen bulging at the bottom. I'm not so sure about striker drag. I don't think I noticed any actual striker drag, but it did kind of like what the Glock's doing here, how it's kind of protruding out like it got blown out. It expanded into the hole in the breech face, and if you look on M&Ps and at least the Shield, it has that bottom area, kind of looks like a feed ramp for the little hole in the breech face. So perhaps that's all it's doing, but it seems to be a common characteristic for strikers that just stay forward, and the Glock being one of them. If you have a lot of power behind the rounds, and even on these full size, it's going to be moving so fast and unlocking. The cycling is going to go so fast that it's actually going to cause a little bit more striker drag, and so I think this is an interesting deal. I don't think the Glock is really going to be too affected by this because of the triangular design. Being that it's angled, it kind of helps it a little better than a rounded firing pin, and SIG did update their firing pins because it is putting stress on it on rounded firing pins, but I think this is an actual issue that can easily be resolved. if you just were to put something that kind of bounces the striker back. But again, Glock doesn't really have an issue. Seems like the 365 and 320 have a little bit of an issue, but being a full size, it's able to cool down, and the striker's able to relax a little better, and the cycling isn't as fast as the 365 on the full size. But maybe the smaller ones, the subcompact and the compact, would actually show this a little more. But anyways, not to beat a dead horse here, but that's basically my little discussion on striker drag. And so let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later.